All right, so looking at drawing the bottle. So the trick here is, I have the photo here, but you're looking at an actual live object in front of you. So the trick is trying to capture the look of that object. But really what you're doing is you're drawing anything that's darker than the page. So if we're looking at the drawing, the photo, the white here is probably going to be the color of your page or the value of your page. And anything that's darker than this has to be shaded in. This looks like this will probably be the darkest thing on your page. So what I usually do is I try and look at it and figure out, okay, what are the angles? Now I know the bottom is not straight across, it's actually angled up. So if I look at the angle here, I can hold a pencil up to it, even just in the air if I'm looking at the real bottle, and figure out what the angles are. Okay, this comes up here, and then the bottle is at an angle, so it's kind of leaning. So I just kind of sketch in the first little bit. Now you'll notice this goes up here, and the top kind of splits because we're seeing a little bit of the side of the bottle. Okay, same thing on this side. Now the difference is this cuts in a little bit here and then goes up. All right, we're going to get our main shape, get the top, the cap. And that goes up and it cuts in a little bit. I'm try and work pretty quickly here. Now whatever happens on this bottom part, you're going to have that same curve on the top. So they should match up pretty evenly. These two curves should match up. And then we drop in the back side of that. Okay, it's not perfect, but we'll, finesse it as we go. Now, if I'm looking at like major things here, I know I've got a little clear piece here that wraps around the bottle, so that's kind of a cool little landmark that I can use. We also have the label. And I'm just going to kind of lightly rough it in. So we know that whole label goes to about here. You've got the top part that says sweet tea, and then you've got the other label here below. And then of course there's a square, a little bit lower than middle. So again, just kind of putting in some landmarks so I know where everything is. I'm worried about letters and stuff later. Now something else I see is the label that goes through. So that comes up here. It's going to be a little bit thinner because it's a little bit farther away. Notice that it doesn't go all the way to the same area. We do have the same top piece, and then we're seeing part of that same square. And actually I'm off a little bit. The plastic should be up here because it goes under the square if you look in here. So there's the top of the plastic right there, and there's the top of the square. So I'm going to get rid of this piece here. So that was off. Alright, so I got my basic shapes. I don't really see anything else shape-wise that we need. I might add this shadow in right here. If you look right here, you've got this shadow. Like I said, I'm just kind of looking at shapes that I see. Okay, there's a dark area here, and it goes up the side of the bottle. So this is a dark spot. You've got some dark here. It gets lighter. You definitely got some dark on this side. You've got kind of some odd shapes with the reflection. Okay, that's all dark up there. Got another little shape right here. But now, of course, yours is not going to look like this. Yours, the light will be hitting it differently than it is on this one. All right. Now, I'm going to start getting a little more specific. There's a light spot up here on the bottle. And then there's some dark next to it. And then I'm starting to see some little shapes here. There's a little shape of dark right here. And then I've got some light areas on the other side. So put some light in here. There's a little light area there. Now I'm doing these super lightly. I'm actually doing them darker than I would if I were really drawing this. Now I notice I've got the table behind. You're probably going to want that, if that's what you see, you know, reflected in the bottle. And that's what's causing these highlights over here. Now I can always put those in as well. But I'm more concerned about the other stuff. All right, this angle looks a little off, so I'm going to try and correct that a bit. Okay, so shading. Here's where it gets a little tricky. Now I'm not going super dark with it. Just trying to drop in some of this light shading. Okay, not going crazy. That's all very light. Got a darker area right here. And actually it continues down the side of the bottle. And remember I said this was a dark area here too. So I'll drop in some of these darks. Drop in some of the mid-tones. Okay, I'm off a little bit on my drawing because I'm going very quickly. I probably would go back and correct some of that. But for sake of this, you know, the reality is nobody's going to see the reference photo that you had. They're only going to see your finished art. Unless, of course, you show them the reference photo, which you wouldn't really do. You don't want to, it's kind of like a magician revealing their trick. You don't want that. All right, so we got this dark on this side. I'm going to drop that in. That's actually a pretty heavy dark. But again, you're looking for shapes. See how I'm finding the shapes here? Okay, that's this over here. Okay, there's a little line right there. And there's a darker shape on the edge. Okay, this is dark here, a little bit lighter there. This comes out to the edge. Okay, and really what I'm looking at right here is the label on the side, but you can't tell that. So it just looks like a reflection. Now you'll notice there's another lighter area here. I haven't even attempted the bottle labels yet. Okay, we got some darks down here. The hard part of this is really making it look transparent, and that's having stuff show through. So the labels will help with that. And then getting the reflections to look like reflections and not, you know, just shapes. And this is some light tones down here. Got these darks down the bottom. Okay, what we don't want is smudging. Smudging is going to make it look messy. You don't want it to look like you rubbed your hand all over it. You want it to look like every pencil stroke was purposeful. Like it's not random that your arm smudged it. Like every pencil stroke happened for a reason. Actually, you're getting some shadow from the other side that shows you the curve of the bottle. Alright, so I'm kind of laying it in a little dark. I'm going to look at this top part here. Remember, you're drawing shadow, not light. The light happens from the paper. Okay, so you've got light up on the top. So I'm going to try and ignore the places where it's real bright. Got a little thing in here. Got a little bit of shadow in there. But for the most part, the light is the paper. It's all about contrast. You got to contrast the darks with the lights. That's what makes it look somewhat realistic. Is you put those lights up against the darks. And that's what makes it pop. Just darken this up so I know where it is. Okay, there are some lights in here. For the most part, this is a dark area. Now there are little ridges on the side of the cap. If you feel it, you'll see it. So I'm sort of faking it a little bit so those show, even though I can't really see them in the photo. Okay, we've got a cap. I mean, this is one of those things that it takes time. You can't rush through this drawing, you know. You're just going to have to be patient with it and work slowly. Don't go too dark too soon, you know. Sometimes you'll make a mistake and you'll have to go back and retrace your steps and try it again. All right. So whatever I do on this label, it has to be lighter than this one. So this one's going to have to be darker. Now there's little patterns in there. It's sort of random. I'm just going to fake my way through it. Doing the letters is tough. So you kind of get the idea, right? I would probably take a little more time with these so that they're all on the plane. Put them on a line. Now they're off. So yeah, I would do that again a little better. Now the main thing is you've got little designs in here that are kind of dark. And they go all through. They're like little leaves. Now they don't have to be exact, because again, no one's going to see your actual photo. They're just going to see your drawing. So they don't know if that looks right or not. As long as your perspective is correct, no one will know the little details are correct or not. All right, so what I'll do is go back and I'd put Sweet Tea in. Now the shading on this should be equal to that blue. It's not too dark, but it's not too light. It's a nice even tone. Now when I put it in here, it needs to be visibly lighter, because we're seeing the back of it. What the back is basically some white ink with some dark ink on top. Same thing with this label here. This should be nice and dark down here, whereas when you go to do it in here, you're seeing the ink on a little bit of white undercoat. So that's going to be lighter. Now where it gets really cool is we start looking at up in here where the little design is on the label. So what I would probably do is go back and try and get some of those things in there. Oh, I gotta sharpen this real quick. I need a sharp point. Because there are designs on the bottle itself. So I would drop in some of those things. It's kind of hard to see, but I pull some of that out. Let's see, there's one here. And then there will be one in here. Now to make that work, you need the shadow next to it. So otherwise it won't read. So you got to put the stuff around the outside, or those shadows won't show. This one's pretty light. Okay, so just barely in there. Dropping some of those things in. And there was this darker one here. Because you're seeing through it the label. Okay, and if I were to finish this label down here, you would start to see those things. Of course, we've got one here. It's kind of dark. And then light around it. All right, so that's how you do that. You know, you just kind of keep going, and then once you drop in the table and the stuff behind it, it should be obvious that there's a table. See if we got that straight-ish. Could even use a ruler to get that, since it is a straight line. Although you don't need a ruler, just eyeball it and get it close. And then we can drop in some of this dark in the background. You don't really have to do the carpet pattern. You can just drop in a little bit of that dark. And again, I'm going super fast here. I would take a lot more time with this. Now there are some shadows here, not a lot. We do have some shadow down here. And again, I would drop in the rest of this label now. Okay, so that's how you do the bottle. You know, I would definitely spend some more time trying to get these little shapes in here so it looks transparent. That's fairly light there. Now this hard edge, I would smooth that out a little bit, since it's not a hard edge really on the bottle. Then I would come back and drop in these darker areas. Because I did smudge it on accident. but I want to see that contrast between the light and dark here. And then you've got a little more down here. So yeah, you seen it now? Kind of looks like a bottle. You just got to do the label, and that's kind of the tricky part, is getting that label to look right. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there's a lot of tricky parts, but that's one of the trickiest parts, is getting the letters to look right. What you might do is drop in some light lines so you know where the letters should go, and then I'll move this box down. And that's it.